Welcome to another video on game development with Asha Akanksha Foundation. In today's video, we learn to create and set up a new scene, and we already have all the prefabs ready, so we'll see how we can use the prefabs to create the complete scene of the game. We'll also create complex prefabs and learn the advantage of using a prefab. In this video, we'll use all the prefabs that we had created and create a new scene for the first level of the game. So we go to create and create a scene. We'll name it level 1. So we have an empty scene here which we'll design now. Firstly, let's start by setting up the ground. So we go to the prefabs folder, we pick up the ground and start placing it. So since we will have to use multiple grounds to lay out our whole level, so one way to or keep it organized is create an empty child, name it say ground, and place these multiple grounds inside that ground, so that you can position the object with respect to your parent object. So when you nest an object, this so if you move the whole ground by say to 0, all the nested objects would move along with it. So this is one advantage of having a parent object. So since our ground is not positioned at 0 by default, we'll undo this action. Let's remove this ground as well. So we create an empty object, we rename it to ground, we position it to 0 0. Now we will start nesting the grounds. So moving to prefabs, pick up a ground, so I'm using I'll use 4 pieces. All I need to do is shift the x coordinate so that it fits in continuation. So I see 35 is a bit too much, and so the length of our ground is 30. So we'll place each ground at a multiple of 30. Now we have our whole game laid out. Let's place some sky assets as well. So it should be at a little more height, so we can place it at this position. We can increase its length to a scale it as the same as ground. So this is how it will appear in the scene. Let's rename it and create a prefab for this object as well. Now we'll create an empty object for the sky, and keep these ones as nested. Again, we'll position them properly. So our complete ground is ready. Now we'll place our planks. First, we'll create an empty object for planks. So all planks are being positioned at the 0, 0 position. We'll have to drag all of them from there. Okay, now let's try to, so this is our scene. So let's try to copy the 3 planks that we had created and duplicate this setup again and again. So we'll delete these 2 planks. We can even make them into a single object. So let's first create a child. We'll name this plank 3. This would contain all the 3 planks that have been created. We can prefab it. Now we can drag and drop a set of 3 planks. So this is a simple arrangement by which I am placing the planks. You can place it as you wish in your scene to make your game as challenging as you want. Another thing you can do is you can edit this plank 3 prefab and add coins to it as well. So for example, if I want to place uh, coin with every plank, I can just say drop a coin here. For every plank, I just position this as 0 0 0 0 because it is a child of the plank, so it knows it for this collectible 0 is the position of the plank. Similarly, I'll place collectibles for each of these three. 0 and 1 is the height above the plank. So now our plank is ready. Set of planks is ready. All of them have got so the changes you make to any prefab are propagated to all the existing objects of that prefab as well. Now our scene is ready. Let's add some enemies. Okay, now positioning them, we just drag and drop them to whatever position we want. In future videos, we learn how to also create this scene automatically using a script rather than actually dragging and dropping all the elements. If we know what positions, and if we want to, for example, randomly generate some parts of the code, we can do that as well using a script. And so for example, we learned how to destroy an element from a script. We can use a script to even create elements. So I'm positioning the birds at different positions or different heights. Now let's add some colliders, obstacles. We can even add enemies inside these obstacles so that they keep colliding. Okay, so let's try to play the game and see how this scene is working out. Okay, we forgot to place a player in the game right now. Okay, so now we'll add a player. In the player, let's locate the player. So we can't see the object. So whenever this happens, it means that it's not sure at what position in the screen is the player at. So for example, if I reorder it, it won't fix it. Like it does not know whether to show the sky on top or the player on top. So for that, there is an option of order in layer. So you can change the order here. So if the order is higher, it would be shown more ahead in front of the screen. So this is something like bring to front function that we have in general. So let's fix the height to 3 or 2. Starting the game. Yeah, now we were talking about how to. So now one problem is I can only, when I run the game, I can only see this part of the screen. The main camera isn't even moving. So one easy way to fix this is to add the camera as a child of the player. So it would move with respect to the player. So it would move along. So for example, right now, if I run the script, just like I told you about any other child, it is actually moving with the so it's even rotating with the child, the parent. So if the ball is rotating, even the camera is rotating. So this is one way to fix it. If we didn't have a rotation, this would have added a good solution. But now let's try it another way. So the other way is to create a script for the camera as well. So here we have a camera. We go to scripts. So here so what we want to do is we want to get the position of the player. For that, we can call the function gameobject dot find, and we can just specify the name of the object that we want to fetch. So we want the position of the player. So we'll store the transform of that player. Transform, as you know, is one component of a game object that is shown here, the transform component. Player transform. So we'll get the game object and then we'll call the get component function of that game object. And this will give us the transform component. We can save it in our player transform variable. So what we want to do is that if the player's position is greater than equal to 0, we want the camera to move along with it. But if the player moves backwards to say -5 position, we don't want the camera to move. Here, when I'm talking about the position, I'm talking about the x coordinate, which is along the gameplay. So let's implement that. If the player's transform position.x is greater than equal to 0, what I want to do is I want to update the camera's position. So we have to first fetch the component. So we can simply save the component of the camera as well. Form of camera transform. So for that we'll just do camera transform is equal to get component transform. So camera transform dot position is equal to new vector 3. We pick up the position of the player at the x coordinate from the player's x coordinate. The y coordinate would be 0 and the z coordinate for camera is always -10. So it is kept a little away from the screen. So if we move to the scene and convert it to 3D, you'll see that it is kept, the camera is kept a little away from the scene to here. So here, let me just, yeah, so here, so that it can capture some the scene properly. If the camera is kept here, it would be able to capture the whole scene. It's literally like the physical camera that we place a little away from the scene. So it is placed at -10. Let's try to run the script. Yeah, so here we have the player. So if, okay, so we haven't applied the script to the camera yet. We just search for the camera controller. We add it to the main camera. Now when the object is moving, the camera is moving along. We're able to collect the coins. And right now we're not colliding with the bird because probably we removed the tag from the player. So let's check out. Yeah, it is coming out to be untagged. So the player needs to have the player tag to collide with an enemy. So later we'll make that change to the prefab itself instead of only the player. So right now the ball is moving out of the frames for some time. So we can make those changes by placing the camera a little over the current position so that it would take into view a little above the screen as well. We finished the game. Now we can add an end here in order to achieve the final, like complete the level. So in this video, we learned how to set up the whole scene and create complex prefabs. I really hope you enjoyed creating the complete game using the prefabs.